Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Kaplan. I'm editor of The Banker and I'm here with Philip Alexander. He's the senior editor. We're at the Investment Banking Awards 2014 at Claridge's in London. And Philip, you were on the judging panel for the awards. We had a fantastic response, some 246 submissions from 50 investment banks. What does that show about the state of the investment banking market, do you think?
Well, I think there's certainly the health has definitely recovered to some extent. In particular, the capital markets are pretty strong. We saw a lot of entries for equity and debt issuance, and there's been a lot more mergers and acquisition activity over the last year or so, so a very strong field in M&A.
Okay, the basic building blocks that actually got sort of pushed out in the crisis, yeah?
That's right, yes. So, you know, as companies become more confident, they're doing more in the markets, and that's helping the investment banks as well. Where they're more challenged is obviously on the trading side with regulations that are restricting their balance sheet usage. So we've seen banks having to pick and choose a little bit more about which business lines they want to stay in, which they want to exit. And that's shown up in the entries as well, where banks have specialized and focused on particular business lines. We've seen some really strong entries this year.
And this seems to play to the strength of the independent banks in some ways. I mean, before the crisis, you had the bulge bracket, and then you had these smaller boutiques who didn't really show up so much. But now it seems like those independents are playing really quite a big role in certain niches.
That's right, and especially in the advisory categories. Obviously, they've got a strong speciality in some cases, and also they're able to say, look, we don't have a trading desk that might be trading your shares while we're giving you advice. So it's this idea of independence that is obviously appealing to clients as well.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like a healthier, more streamlined investment banking sector, and we're looking at some exciting awards later on this evening.
The most innovative investment bank of the year from Africa. The winner is Standard Bank.
Welcome to the Banker's Investment Banking Awards. I'm joined today by the winner of our Africa category, Standard Bank, and I have Mr. John Ngumi, Head of Investment Banking for East Africa. John, this has been a fantastic year for Standard Bank. You've been involved in many high-profile transactions from across the continent, and much of this reflects the growing international interest in East Africa. How is Standard Bank leveraging its expertise in the region to promote greater international engagement?
If you look at the fact that we are the biggest or one of the biggest banks in all three countries, that we've got the only full-fledged investment banking operation in East Africa of any bank, that we've got a sectoral concentration on oil and gas, mining and metals, agriculture, power and infrastructure. Those relationships that we've built over a long time are now coming into their own. So the leveraging is really working off relationships and deals that we've been chasing and following for a very long time.
Okay, sure. And of the deals from this year, obviously one of the standout deals was the debut bond issuance from Kenya of about $2 billion US. How significant was that transaction for the region?
That was a very important transaction for Kenya and for the region as a benchmark, as a lead transaction for others to come on, as an exposure of East Africa and Kenya to the wider market, and really for Kenya especially as an expression of confidence. For Standard Bank to be among Barclays and JP Morgan was truly an expression of confidence that we are the African bank. We can work with the bulge brackets and the globals, but we are truly a bank that cannot be left out or ignored in these sorts of transactions.
Now, there's so much opportunity in sub-Saharan Africa. What are your plans and perhaps key objectives for 2015?
To be the lead, to bring, if you look at our mantra of bringing Africa to the world to Africa in terms of capital flows, that's exactly what we're doing. So if you look at the oil and gas in East Africa, which is the exciting story, we are involved in virtually everything that's happening on both the upstream and on the infrastructure around the upstream. If you look at power and infrastructure, I think we're leading 80% of all the power deals in the region. We are involved in the other infrastructure type deals. If you look at mining and at mining, the largest investment in Kenya in rare earths, the financing of that is led by Standard Bank. I think the reality is that we are at the heart of all this.
Well, John, congratulations again and all the best moving forward. Thank you for your time.
The most innovative investment bank for bonds. And the winner is Deutsche Bank.
Hello and welcome to the Bankers Investment Banking Awards. My name is Stephanie Linhart and I'm here with Hakan Volin from Deutsche Bank. Hakan, you won the Bond Award this year. What would you say were the main drivers of your success?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving it to us, because it means a lot, and particularly for all the junior people around the bank that work so hard in making everyday pitches and all that. So it means a lot to us, so thank you. I think the drivers is that you need to have a multi-pillar business to stand on, because at some point one business may be down, another one up. This year we've been very, very active around financial institutions and capital issuance, a huge wave of capital issuance from I think now 35 different countries, 300 billion in Basel III compliant deals. That's great. On the other hand, a huge wave of LBOs and high yield issuance, particularly in Europe, fast growing, and we have a very good credit business, 7 out of 10 LBOs being done. The big corporates, be it M&A related or otherwise, we've been very much involved in. We've done 7 out of the 10 largest top 10 deals this year. Very happy with that. And of course, the last pillar, in my view, is the fast growing emerging markets. 110 different countries issuing debt. You need to be present, and we've been involved in 75 countries. This is impressive. You have to have a big architecture out there to be involved with investors and issuers, and you don't build that up over a year or two. This is a long time coming, and if you have that infrastructure, you're bound to do well in this kind of market.
What would you say, which deals did you especially like? Obviously you cover the whole globe, so which deals did you especially like?
Well, there's many of them. On the corporate side, on the high yield side, we as a bank very proud of the Numérique Hubble, the largest high yield deal ever issued out of the French telecom sector. We did a repeat large issue for Apple. We like that client. And their products, 12 billion this year. That was very exciting. We did one 7 billion deal yesterday for Bayer, our German household. These kind of deals are very important for us. On the capital side, other than issuing for ourselves, we were especially, and we talked about it before, Société Générale, some of the groundbreaking first AT1s with write down and write up provisions, etc., that set the stage for further issuance. Very proud of that. And then of course we can pick interesting transactions out of pretty much anywhere, but I think also another one is African sovereigns, which is coming. And that's delightful to see, because they're raising money and lifting people out of less fortunate economic circumstances into better ones. And that's fun as a banker to be involved.
Do you expect more issuance out of Africa in the next 12 months?
There's 53 countries last time I counted, and maybe 54, depending on how you define it. So far, we have ratings of 30, issuance out of 15 or so. So yes, much more to come. Africa is rising. This is the moment, and we want to be right there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Now to the most innovative investment bank of the year from Latin America. The winner is Itaú BBA.
Welcome to the Bankers Investment Banking Awards. I'm here with our winner for Latin America, which is Itaú BBA. I'm joined by Renato Lulia, who is the head of the European and Asian business for Itaú BBA. Renato, thank you and for being here, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So Itaú BBA really had a phenomenal few years with a massive expansion, obviously in its home country, in Brazil, in Latin America, and elsewhere as well in the world. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Latin America expansion. You've opened a new office in Mexico, which is a very interesting market. So let's start from that one.
Yeah, so we are very proud of our accomplishments in 2014. And as you said, I mean, the last operation that we opened was in Mexico. We've been in Mexico for a few years, but we really started investment banking this year. And we are quite happy that in a short period of time, we managed to participate in 3 very important transactions in ECM. And we are very, very excited about the prospects for next year as well.
And you obviously have also a very nice presence in the Andean countries. You dominate, I think it's fair to say, Brazil. You are one of the really top players there. And in your role, you cover Europe and Asia. I know you're traveling all over the place, just as a testament of how fast the business is growing. So just tell me a bit about your international expansion and the deals that you're working on at the moment.
So international expansion is absolutely linked to Latin America. So we find out that in order to cover Latin America well and to serve our clients well, we have to be in the main financial centers in Europe and US and Asia. And that's what we do here out of Europe. I mean, we want to be the go-to bank for multinationals, European, Asians or Americans on everything related to Latin America. Therefore, we have an operation here in London, and then we have offices all over Europe in the main financial centers like Madrid, Frankfurt, Paris, and Lisbon as well. And we have operations in Asia, in Tokyo, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. And basically we have, again, a very focused strategy in terms of trying to intermediate the flows between all those regions in Latin America. I mean, financial flows, capital flows, and trade flows as well. So it requires a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling, I know. You're always on a plane. Yeah. What markets are these investors looking more keenly in Latin America?
So it's been a very active year. I mean, I think it's fair to say it's been our record year in terms of M&A. And most part of all the things that we do are in Latin America. It's been a lot of interest in Brazil, in Peru, in Colombia, in Mexico, we just talked about it.
And you guys worked on a really big deal, on a big telecom deal in Brazil.
Exactly, we're very proud of having represented a major European multinational in acquiring a very large asset in Brazil. It's one of the largest European investments in Brazil ever. And we're very happy to represent that European company in that specific transaction.
Very good. Well, we shall keep an eye on all the good business that Itaú BBA will keep on doing, and best of luck with your trips.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To the most innovative investment bank of the year 2014. The winner is Credit Suisse.
Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Kaplan. I'm editor of The Banker. I'm here with Gail de Boissard, who's the co-head of investment banking at Credit Suisse. Gail, congratulations on being the Banker's Investment Bank of the Year 2014. And give us a little bit of a feel for how the market's been over the past year and what have been the chief successes for you.
Okay, well first, thank you very much. The markets have had a array of different conditions to them. We've been lucky to be involved in a number of very significant transactions across the board. So I'm thinking of the Alibaba issue or some of the largest bond deals in Europe, in particular the wind issue in high yield, and a number of innovative deals in the fixed income space. So it's been a good environment, I think, for us to be able to showcase our strength in those areas, but it's not been uniform.
Okay, and how has been the composition of the business since the crisis? I mean, all the banks kind of restructured after the crisis, and what's your kind of new niche and areas that you focus on?
We have concentrated, Brian, very much on the franchises that we're strong in. So whether that's the equity business, the M&A business, and in fixed income, primarily the credit businesses. Credit per se, securitized products, emerging markets. And those are really the areas where we are, I think, very differentiated quite naturally. Other areas are perhaps cyclically challenged, maybe structurally challenged. I'm thinking macro and FX and rates, and they, I think, present some difficulties for the industry and certainly for us.
Okay, and very quickly, I mean, what do you think the opportunities will be in 2015 for you?
Well, we see great opportunities in Europe and the transformation of bank balance sheet and the way Europe finances. I think we continue to be positive around M&A activity worldwide and equally positive on the equity market. So a little bit more of the same, but perhaps a bigger emphasis on Europe going forward.
Thank you very much, Gail. Have a great evening.
Pleasure. Thank you.